So if you're watching this video, odds are you live in Michigan or are moving to Michigan. And you're starting to get some quotes from companies, or you're with a company and the rates are just ridiculous. Why are the rates so high in Michigan? That's the question. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through just some explanation of the coverages that the state requires you to carry and the reasons that is making the pricing so high. So right off, the prices in Michigan is the highest in the nation. There's not any state in the US that is cheaper. It's just what it is. The main reason is PIP, and we'll get into that in a second, but also I want to go through some of the changes as well that are going to be coming up here later on in this video. So what I mean by PIP is Personal Injury Protection, PIP. And if you look at your policy, there's a coverage for that, and that's kind of an unlimited medical. It's not removable, you have to carry it. There are ways around it, so if you have your own medical outside of your car insurance, then you can kind of coordinate that. Let's go into it just a tiny little bit further and go through what that is and what you need it for. So in Michigan, we're called a no-fault state. So if you get in an accident, you go off on your own, they go off on their own, nobody has to fight about it. Your car's covered under yours, his car's covered under his. In the background, the insurance companies are going to fight back and forth and say, you guys hit me, you're 80% at fault, pay me that premium back, right? But you don't have to deal with that. That's just the way the state is. Now, if you get injured, the same thing happens. If you get hurt in your car, you go off to your medical, they go off to their medical. So there's really two versions of the medical. One where you have some through work, and you'll call them up and ask them, do they coordinate? If they do, then what that means is if you get into a car accident and you're injured, your medical will pay the bills first. And eventually there's a limit typically with your medical. So that'll run out. Let's just say it's a major claim. Then your car insurance will pay it second. That's cheaper. That's called coordination of medical benefits. Some policies will say PIP excess. That's the same thing as coordinated. Just means it's in excess of your current medical. Then the other one, which is the most expensive one, and the reason that we're so high in Michigan, is the non-coordinated, the primary medical. And what that means is same situation, you get in a car accident, your car insurance pays all of it. Doesn't matter. It's 100% covered. If there wasn't, which there isn't, but if there wasn't, then your medical would pick it up last. It typically means you don't have medical that coordinates with the state of Michigan. So why is this required and why is it so expensive? It's expensive because it's unlimited. You lose your arm, it's $7 million to put your arm back on, get you through doctor visits. You can't get out of bed for 7 weeks, 6 years, whatever it is. They're paying a nurse to come in and cauterize your wounds or whatever it is, right? I'm not a doctor, but they're coming in fixing you up 6 years, 7 years, 10 years later. Those bills add up. Now, the state has been fighting this, trying to get this removed because we're the only state that does this. And to give you some good news, they did approve it. Because right now, the way that state of Michigan is you don't have a choice. It's no matter what. Even though we know that the average medical claim is lower than $250,000. So even when we have these major claims, if you average them out, it's less than that. So why do we have to carry that? Well, that's changed. So going forward, come July of 2020, they're going to actually change that law. If you guys are interested in learning all of the changes with the PIP and the medical and the insurance in Michigan, I'm going to link my video up here where I go over all the major changes. Now, keep in mind, it's still kind of in fruition. Everyone that you talk to is going to give you kind of a iffy, wishy-washy answer. But in all honesty, that video is pretty accurate. So you're going to get pretty much everything you need out of it. That's not it. The next thing is the catastrophic claim. So that's technically still the PIP. So what it is, it's called MCCA fee, the Michigan Catastrophic Claims Association. It's a fee per vehicle. And what that is it's basically mixing all of these coverages between the PIP and whatever the state of Michigan requires you to have, which includes like work loss and things like that. That's a fee that every car on your policy has. I just talked to a lady yesterday and we both kind of like scratch our heads like, man, I cannot believe how expensive this is. Each car for the MCCA fee was like $220. So every year she's paying $200, $400, $600, $880 a year, which is ridiculous. If you've gone this far, I appreciate it. Now we're going to talk about how I personally think and how a lot of you think. Yes, I sometimes think, man, this is the biggest scam in the world. How the crap do we have all this stuff? It's ridiculous how these insurance companies do it. And when I think of that, I always think back, okay, what if I were to start my own insurance company? So I'm going to start a company in Michigan, right? We're not talking about the outside states, which is so much easier if you're going to start one. But if you start an insurance company yourself, you're the insurer, you're doing it all. And so you start this company in Michigan, and I'm just going to say, I'll tell you what, you guys pay a premium. Everybody give me $100. We're going to do an insurance company for your cell phones, right? And so every time you give me $100, I'm going to put that in the bank. And if one of you loses your cell phone, I'm going to pay for your cell phone, which is roughly about $700 or $800 on average for a cell phone. So anyone that loses it, I've pulled in, I've got 50 people paying me $100. So I've got $5,000 sitting in my account. 3 of you lose your cell phone. So now I've got $800, $800, and $800. So that's $1,600, $2,400 that's going out. So I'm netting that almost $3,000 amount. We're averaging, so bear with my crappy math here. But we've got about $3,000 left. And I'm going to take that money and invest it. That's essentially the way insurance works. Well, what happens when your kids come in there and they start having claims? So I've lost 10 phones out of 10 that I've collected. Now I'm negative because I paid the money to get you in the door. I've paid the money to insure you, but I'm only taking 100, paying 800 back. So if I have that happen, it's bankruptcy, right? You just can't survive that long. That's definitely something to think about long term. Yes, these companies are making a lot of money. Are they greedy? Not necessarily, because really what they're doing is they're doing what I used to do when I bought and sold computers, is they're overcoming any possibilities. So what I did is when I offered on a used computer, I would offer close to half of what the person wanted for it. And I would meet right in the middle. That way, if they sold me something that was broken, I could fix that part and then resell it. In the occasions where I didn't have to fix anything, I made a lot more money. And that's really what a lot of companies do. What they should be doing when they make that extra money is trying to work on lowering those rates, which they do. Some companies every once in a while do lower rates, so you've got give and take there. So the other part of Michigan, why we're so expensive, is because of the certain areas that we do, some of the demographics, and these are some of the things that are changing. So if you go into Detroit, you're going to pay almost twice as much. And because of that, it's kind of creeped up where they've had a few problems, they didn't adjust correctly, they had larger problems, now they're negative. Now companies want to raise the price there. They don't want to insure it. Now you can't afford it, right? So now half or close to half of all the people in Detroit are not insured because they can't afford that cost. What you're seeing is because of that, there's a lot more risk. Someone hits you, they're gone, they take off. Now you've got uninsured motorist claims. So there's a lot of activity mixed in with that personal injury protection medical that we have to carry. If you already have watched the video that I talked about here, about learning the new changes that are coming July 1st of 2020 in Michigan, you're going to understand that a lot of these changes are going to help us lower the premiums. So we're going to see upwards of close to 50% less in that PIP category, not the whole policy, but part of that category is going to go down. So that 200, 200, 200, 200 for those that have many cars, if they choose lower levels, that's going to lower that price. So Michigan is my home state. I live here, I sell here. I now train people to sell in Michigan for insurance, and I work with a company that does really good on the education portion. That's kind of me. So they're really good at it. But I also work with a lot of good people that understand this law, and things are going to change as it goes forward. So there's a lot of things that you guys do need to know about going forward with your policy. If you have an agent, that's your best route. Talk to your agent. If you've worked with them for years, love them, great. If you don't have a specific agent and you want to look at multiple companies, I've got a couple people I can refer you to. I'll put a link to my website below. And then if you're interested, go ahead and fill out a quote. I'll pass it on to them. Otherwise, the last piece of Michigan, why we're so expensive, is kind of a controversial one. And I'm going to say this just straight out, whether you hate me or love me for saying this, you can put in the comments below your opinion. I'd love to hear it. So I personally think one of the problems with insurance is the fact that we've grown so much as far as technology goes. And so we've kind of improved and made things easier for the customer, easier for the client. And even though there's a lot less cost in that, the insurance companies haven't lowered the premiums based on that. I fair to say, without digging in too deeply, because this is not a subject that I've personally researched. I know there's books out there. I'll put some links to those below as well. But what they do is they talk about, okay, the tech industry has taken over. They're making things quicker. We don't need customer service as much because you've got an app and you're doing half the things for you. Actually, just today, I was doing a practice quote with Geico just to see what their prices in Michigan are. And I looked up my current policy. I'm with Citizens Insurance today. And when I looked up that policy, I was looking at it to see what's my VIN number, what's my driver's license number, what's my policy number, how long have I been with them. And so I was able to log right online. And I didn't know my password, so I said, remember password, and it sent me a link where I could find it. So it's very easy for me to do all the work, where in the past, I would have to call customer service. You're gonna have to pay someone to be there on the weekend. And so it's just all of that ease of business has helped the insurance companies so much. But the thing is, where are those premiums going? Like, are they lowering the premiums? I don't see that as much. Anyway, that's my soapbox. I kind of feel like that portion of it, I almost wish we could see like an itinerary of each company. Okay, here's what we did, here's what we took in, here's what we sold. That is online through like the AM Best ratings. But also I want to see more of the specifics, like here's why we adjusted something. So we took in really good rate, as they call it. We got really good money in the door, and we got really good prices. And so because of that, because of the technology, we didn't need as much service. So we were able to eliminate that portion of our cost. Because of that, we went down 2 points or 2% in our insurance costs. Don't get me wrong. There are companies that do this. So they evaluate at the end of the year what they did. If they did really good, they sometimes, not always, but they sometimes lower that cost to be more competitive in the market. So they're taking in more business because they've got a model that's working, they've tested it, and now they're going to just offer that lower price to them. That's where your independent agents, which are your local people, have a better role in this situation. When they do have those things happen every 3 to 5 years, you probably should look at your cost and see if you're still getting the best rate, because AAA or Citizens or Michigan Insurance or whoever you're with may have gotten a lower rate because they were doing better and they did lower those costs because of that. All right, guys, I hope this was valuable. I'm going to put some other videos here for you to look at. If you're interested, I'll put the link to the video in Michigan here as well. Everything's in the description. Please comment. Let me know if you're interested in learning more about Michigan coverages. If you have specific questions, I do answer almost every single question I get. Apart from that, if you like the video, smash the thumbs up. Definitely subscribe if you want to be in touch with me for more of the information. And I will see you guys in the next one.